Hey Tabassum, hi, welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time out to talk to us on this. For our viewers, I just want to introduce Tabassum. She spent I think 25 years covering financials in equity research across Goldman Sachs, where she was the co-head of India research in Asia Financials Research, UBS, and Kotak before that, and Jardine Fleming as well. And after 25 years, the last 4 years or 3 or 4 years have been in the social impact sector. And recently was also on the IRDA panel for looking at standalone micro insurers as a business model. So Tabassum, great to have you here and talk to us about CSR.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Glad to be here.
My first question really is how should companies think about their strategy with respect to their CSR spend or social programs?
Yeah. So, interestingly, Shishir, if you look at corporate India, a lot of them are still doing just tick the box. And there is clearly an opportunity for them to think about it more strategically in terms of what should be done, because they can build, given their experience, scalable, models which can help resolve social issues. About 2 years back, I met nearly 30 corporates and looked at what they were doing in terms of their strategy. And based on that research, I basically drilled down to around a 7-point framework, which adopted by companies should form a good basis for their CSR strategy. And this is not something I'm speaking on my own, but based on the experience of what I have seen with the other corporates and what they are doing. So what is the 7-point framework? So the first point is what do you do to choose the geography and the issues, social issues you want to focus on? So most companies who were doing well and companies who were performing well were focusing on fewer issue areas, not too many, going more deep into those areas. They were also focusing on fewer geographies, not again spreading themselves thin. And then companies were trying to use their sector knowledge to basically deliver CSR. So I think those companies, to start with, companies should think about it in terms of which geography, which social issue to pick up, and this is one way of doing it. The second was basically, planning long term, because social issues take very long to resolve. You can't just, eradicate poverty in 1 year or 3 years, which is what typically companies do when they're looking at their CSR strategy. So it should be fairly long term in terms of what progress you want to make over, say, a 5 to 10 year. Just like how you would do your strategy for a company, no reason to have a different strategy for CSR. And then you can break it down into 1 year, 2 years, 3-year plan and run pilots and then iterate based on the experience and outcome you are having. The third is scalability. Now, clearly, companies have the experience of scaling up, right? You are expanding your business, so why not in CSR? Here, again, my experience was, and I'm not saying this is restricted to it, but my experience was when you work with the government, the chances of scalability were much higher and better. The fourth point in the framework is basically sustainability. So, what happens when a company withdraws, right? The project should not fall apart. So what do you need to do? How do you work with communities, taking them along with you? So what is a model you need to build around sustainability so that the project continues even after you have left? The fourth thing is execution, right? In terms of how do you execute projects? So some companies would do it directly, some would do it with NGOs. So I think to begin with, companies should make sure that they hire a team of professionals. So not just leave it to the CFO or the HR guy to do CSR, but have a team of professionals, somebody from the corporate world who can bring in the rigor, somebody from the social space who can help you connect with the communities, and somebody who has domain knowledge. So you may be manufacturing toothpaste, you don't have experience in education if you're doing education. So bring in somebody with the domain knowledge. The second is basically within that, jointly work with the partner, execution partner, to design the programs. And also, see how you can help them build capacity and work long term. Because what happens is a lot of companies are like, I'll work 1 to 3 years with one NGO and then go to somebody else. Not sure how that helps in resolving problems, helping in strategizing long term. Even for the NGO, it is difficult to do then in terms of strategizing. The sixth point is basically monitoring and impact assessment. Just like in corporate world, you focus on EBITDA margin, ROA, ROE, what do you want to achieve, your asset turnover, what it should be. There's no reason why in CSR you should not have proper monitoring of your programs. So first of all, you need to have a long-term goal in terms of what you want to achieve. And then you basically build a model where you track data that is required to track it over a quarterly basis, monthly basis. What is the information you're going to look at? What are the short-term outcomes you need to look at? So all that should be monitored. And then finally, you do an impact assessment for your large projects to know whether you achieved what you were targeting, to begin with. And then finally, which not many companies are doing, unfortunately, India is volunteering. So I think it's important to get employees involved, right? If you see, research shows that employees who see the company focusing on social space are actually likely to stay with you longer. You can also attract talent, and this is becoming even more important with the ESG framework. So what do? You run, right? What are the programs? How they can participate? Involve where possible your employees in terms of designing a program and plan. Feel involved about it. Let them do volunteering during office hours. It shouldn't happen that they say, oh, you only do it on a Saturday or a Sunday when you have a day off. So I think if you do these 7 points, keep these 7 points in mind, then I think you can have an effective CSR strategy. Doesn't mean that you have to tick every box, but you should try and see how many you can actually achieve.
Can you talk a little bit about how companies, or examples, or how companies have chosen sectors or areas or geographies of intervention based on your research?
Yeah, sure. So there are multiple things a company can do. So clearly, if you look at most companies, they will have a factory and community around them or stakeholders around them, right? So first you need to figure out what are the issues that are important for them. So I'll just give you an example of what ITC did, right? So ITC has two kind of stakeholders. One is community around the factories they operate, and then they work alongside farmers, right? Because they buy a lot of agri products. So they said, these are my stakeholders. Then they did a survey of nearly 500,000 households, and they identified the focus area, what should be the social issues they should be focusing on, what is it important for them. Now you don't have, they will say 20 things, you don't have to go for everything, right? You decide what are the top 3 or 4 areas, and in that particular geography, based on the requirement, you focus on those issues, and then basically you can do a long-term plan for that. That's one approach. The second approach is where, say, you don't typically have a factory which is permanent. Say, for example, L&T sets up a power plant and then moves on, right? So what do? So they did something very interesting, which is another approach, I would say. They interviewed 3,000 employees and NGOs. And they said, what is more important in terms of social issues? Then they drilled it down to something like 120 areas. Then they did a workshop with their employees, 100 top 100 employees, and then they drilled it down further to 10. And then further what they did was they discussed it with the board, and they drilled down to 4 areas which they focused on. Then there is a third approach, which is basically thematic. So somebody like Tech Mahindra, I mean, you don't have a factory, you don't have a community, so what do? So they picked up what is more important for India, for example, skilling and education, and they spend 90% of their funding there. Or somebody like Maruti, who said, okay, I am more experienced in auto industry, so they are focusing on road safety project, right? They're also focusing on the community, but they spend like only on 3 areas, they would spend nearly 90% of their funding. Similarly, Mahindra and Mahindra does that, right? They are focused on road safety as well. So that is using your core competency in some way, or your understanding of the sector to deliver social returns. I would say one more thing, when you're selecting your geography and focus issues, it's also important to ask the question, who's deciding it, right? Is it being decided by the promoter or a CEO who may have his own? All of us have something which we feel close to, right? I am more interested in, say, education or children's well-being. So you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on what is close to your community and stakeholder. Therefore, board should be deciding the areas of focus rather than an individual. Is my view, and that's what companies should be doing.
Many of the companies set up foundations. Maybe trustees there could possibly play that role in
Yeah.
objective way.
Actually, there are two things there. Some companies have a very interesting approach, which I should have mentioned, is basically if you look at Mahindra and Mahindra, they have 1% of CSR from the group companies that goes into area which is decided by at a group level, right? So they have decided girl child education, health and environment as key issues. The balance 1% is spent by the auto division, for example, on areas that are closer to them. So they work with farmers on watershed, they work in increasing farm income, or they're working on road safety projects. So that's something which can be done. But yes, the board should be deciding it. The trustee can then work on different projects, but the trustee should not be deciding what it should be. It should be the company board who should be deciding. Then that fund goes to the foundation, and the foundation trustee then basically see how well to distribute those, how best to distribute those among different projects.
Let me pick on another of the items you mentioned in your framework of sustainability, and obviously in any ecosystem things change, priorities change, people change. How should companies then plan for sustainability of their interventions, assuming that one day they will not be there? Maybe they continue, but what if they don't?
When you're building a project, I think it's most important to do a behavior change if you really want the project to sustain, right? Otherwise, it will not continue. So that's something the company should look at in terms of how are you going to change the behavior. So for example, if you're doing waste management, right, how you need to basically train the civil society and the community there in terms of how do you segregate that, right? It's a behavior change. Or if you're even looking at, for example, cropping pattern, because it's consuming too much water, you're moving away from sugarcane to mango. So, what do you need to do to basically change that behavior pattern, which becomes very important. Secondly, involving the community and the panchayat at the local level, because they can then influence the community around you. And when they have participated, they also help you with the project designing, so then it can help you sustain. And the third important thing is, I think, how do you try and get the community to participate financially or non-financially, right? So financial participation is great, but it's very rare. So non-financial is where the community will contribute in some way, which is say labor or providing your farm to build a dam or a canal or something like that. So that will help. I'll give you an example of ITC again, because I found them doing this brilliantly. So they have set up a number of farmers association, more than 10,000 kind of association on the ground level, and they give the money to the association. That association then gives the funds to farmers as a loan. So for example, in Kothugudam, where they are doing this eucalyptus plantation, the association will give loan to the farmer who buys the sapling and then returns the money back when he earns income. And that money is revolved within the community for some other activity. Similarly, they did that with a women's nursery as well. So that nursery, basically, once they started earning income, they returned back the funds and to the NGO, and NGO can redeploy that. So, your project in some way continues because they are seeing income and benefits from that.
You also talked about scale and how to think about scale. And maybe for a moment, if we move away from the ITCs and the L&Ts of the world, who of course have tremendous scale, but what if one thought about slightly smaller companies or who have smaller pools of resources to spend? How do you think they can maybe participate at scale, even if not command the scale directly at their own behest?
Yeah. So yes, I mean, even smaller companies can do it. But as I mentioned, my experience was that most of them who were doing this were doing it alongside with your, with some government organization. So I'll give you an example, Godrej Consumers, right? They tied up with the Madhya Pradesh government, and in 9 districts, they basically trained the employees of the government organization on in the health department, who then basically go and they gave them all the material that was required, and who went and basically increased an awareness about malaria problem and what leads to malaria and what they can do basically. So that's how they helped them eradicate malaria in those districts, and that covered nearly 700,000 households and 3.5 million of population. So that they don't have as large a funding as say NITC. Similarly, Nestle has done that in nutrition. Again, they spend, if I recollect well, that time was about just 27 crores or so in CSR funding. So they had tied up with universities, local universities, where they provided them training and they provided them the training material. Those university students then were going to villages and schools and doing holding sessions with the children and their parents to basically talk about nutrition, what is a good, what are good practices and how you can, and it was very localized as well, by the way. So they looked at on a local level what is available for you and how you can basically mix different items to basically provide nutrition to the children. So they also nearly reached 280,000 or so, and that was possible at a small budget because you worked with a university.
The last question from my side really is while there is tremendous noble intent, how do you know that all of this is making a difference? What are the methodologies, tools, and some examples that you have come across to measure what actually got done?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, Shishir, when I did this sort of study 2 years back, I met a number of companies who were not spending on impact assessment. What they mentioned was it's too expensive. Now, regulation have made it mandatory, right? So any company who spends more than 10 crore and in CSR funding and is spending, on any project 1 crore, they have to do impact assessment. So in my view, impact assessment is very much essential. Otherwise, how do you know what you have achieved? And it should be technically done by an independent organization, so that you know that you have achieved your objective, what were the challenges, what were the issues, and how you can correct them. So I didn't come across many of them, but I'll just mention two or three of them. So for example, in case of Mahindra and Mahindra, they worked with the Maharashtra government and an NGO to reduce the road fatality on Mumbai-Pune Expressway. And they worked, this project is like nearly 7-8 years project. They had completed nearly 4-5 years, and they did training of drivers. They made some engineering changes. They increased awareness. And it's basically educating the drivers and people around to in terms of road safety. So they had seen nearly 40% reduction in the road fatality, and their target was eventually to achieve about 100%. So this is something which they had managed to achieve. Another good example, and this is where I was going back to my earlier point as well, that social sector issues take very long to resolve. So for example, in case of Ambuja Cement, they took 18 years to basically mitigate coastal salinity, right? And they've been working in that geography for those many years, and it 8 kilometers of road, coastal salinity, they saw a regression of that line. So this is huge, right? 8 kilometers, not small. So they had to work for 18 years with the farmers to achieve that help increase water levels. And of course you can increase farming because the water is not saline there. So this is something which I feel takes long, and companies have to have that focus and decide and do an impact assessment.
So great, Tabassum. Thank you so much. I would feel that in general, there's a lot more appreciation for some of this now, maybe triggered by regulation, maybe just people are just more aware about this.
Yeah, so I think it has been an evolution process. So I think now gradually companies have been setting it right. A lot of companies have hired talent. A lot of companies have been trying to focus on doing the right things. So I think you are seeing good progress there. And I think with this whole ESG focus also, you will see a lot more companies, looking at CSR more seriously. I mean, just to give you some idea, the entire reason why I put out this report was because a CIO of a fund came to me and asked me, what is the question I should be asking to companies when I'm meeting them on CSR? And then I started digging, meeting up with companies, and sort of, published this note. So I'm sure that there's a lot of pressure from investors and generally from communities as well. And companies are also becoming more aware that the pool of CSR is increasing. So they are hopefully will try and do the right thing.